Hello, podcast listeners. Today we're doing a little bit of a different episode. Our good friend Shane O'Hara passed recently, and he had done a Patreon only episode. And Jordan and I both felt like it would be cool to have it on the main feed so that anyone, friends, and family can listen to him anytime they would like to. So this is that first episode that he guested on. It's pretty fun, and I hope everybody enjoys it. If you'd like to listen to his other appearances, he was on John Wick Chapter 3, which was earlier this year in 2022, and he also guested on Hobbs and Shaw, which was a couple months after John Wick Chapter 3. So I hope that you'll enjoy this fun episode and have some fun with Shane, and rest in peace, my friend. We love you.
Hello.
And welcome to the MPU, the sequel. We're on Patreon. Yeah. We are not on the main feed right now. And we're doing, we already do special episodes, right?
Yes.
But this time we're going out of our way to do something very odd and special. So as
Well, someone gave us a gift and the gift backfired because the person who gave us the gift also had to watch it.
That's true. That's true. But any keen listeners will have heard the name Shane probably a few times in this podcast.
Yeah.
And he's an old friend of mine and yours. And we would watch movies together all the time. And him and I saw this trailer. I don't think we saw it together. Did we see it together?
We did. It was at the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh.
That's right. And we both kind of
That's how memorable it was.
And we're like, what in the world is that? And we kept joking about this movie. And the movie is The Kid Who Would Be King. And the guest is Shane O'Hara. Shane O'Hara, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here. Not particularly happy about the movie choice.
Yeah.
That's kind of on me, I think, right?
Worse and more boring.
Yes.
But I was pretty bored for this movie, I gotta say. And I feel like not having a child had a big part for that. If I had a kid sitting next to me, I think I would have enjoyed it a little bit more.
Yeah, the 2 hours. 2 hours.
2 hours is too long. I'm
Way
not gonna
too
deny
long.
that.
Yeah, it got it dragged on. There's the end of there's like a fourth act, and the third act ends. And you're like,
I know.
It's like it's all tied up in a bow, and nope.
No, I also thought that this movie was going to be funnier for some reason, and we were talking about it while we were watching it, and it's just not very. It's very epic, and I think you said, Micah, you think that the same year or around the same time that Bad Boy, like the Bad Kids movie came out with like Jacob Tremblay.
Well, you said this. I didn't talk
you
about
said
this
it
at
was
all.
the same year. We talked.
Oh yeah,
about
but you were asking about it.
I was, because when that trailer came out,
it's Good Boys.
Good Boys.
And that would have been that was.
But they are not good in the trailer, and that one looked like it was going to be a rip roaring time.
Oh
and
yeah,
I
that
thought
was
it was
a rated R movie.
I think I thought it was this movie somehow, and it was not funny.
So this posits that every time you see a movie that has kids in it, you assume it's the same as another movie.
No,
that has
I think
kids
it's just two movies I didn't really pay attention to either of the trailers, and that's what happens.
Okay. Okay.
Simple as that.
I mean, so let's before we dive. I mean, this is all our first time watching this movie. We missed it in theaters. Big shocker. It would have come out like a month after Spider-Verse. I mean, this is pre-pandemic. There's no reason we should have missed this, right? Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we should have gone and seen it. I mean,
I think you and I joked because you live up in the Seattle area, and we joked about meeting up to see the movie, like meeting in Portland or something. We should have done that. That would have been so funny. Okay, so I mean, give me like your paragraph. Each of you, give me your paragraph to set the stage before we get into how the movie was made.
You mean like what the movie's about?
No, what your like knee-jerk reaction of this movie is.
Oh, I want to hear Shane.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I gave it a lot of, I would say credit. I try not to be judgmental of it. And then you're an hour 40 in and you're like, it's still not over. And I get it. It's a kid's movie, so I expected it to be cheesy. But then there's also like a side of it that's super dark and creepy. And
Yes.
it's like they should have either done a young adult film or a kid's film, and they landed right in the middle, and it almost doesn't work. Like it barely works and makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like this movie wasn't, like we said, it wasn't like bad, but it did not have like the it factor of, I don't know, like good epic movies that involve kids or something. Like I agree with you. It's like they were either too old for the movie or too young. The age range was just so weird.
Yeah.
Me and Jack were talking about it today, and an idea came up that it would have been cool if it was a young kid and then all his, his, what would you call the group? The Knights or whatever. If they were all like adults and then they like, lean more into the creepy side, then you could make it more epic.
Oh, yeah.
You could go darker with it. You could kill off characters and it wouldn't be weird because it's not a kid's movie anymore. But it's just so middle of the road that it's just meh.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
I did get to see your dog Grizz in the background there, which was a nice bonus there.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of like it. I feel like I'm with you where, like, I'm sort of glad we own the movie because it feels like whenever we have kids and they're
we're bored
10,
out of our mind and we're not willing to watch whichever Pixar movie they want to watch for the 10th time in a row, we're gonna put this movie on.
Yeah, and it'll be enjoyable.
Yeah.
I thought the basic story was cool. I do think it was too long. But I will say it all makes up for it when you have the crazy weird demon dragon lady. I loved the design of that. That was so gross.
The effects were really good, I think.
Yeah.
I have no complaints in that department.
Yeah, for being a kids movie, the CGI was convincing.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's so cheesy. You're just going, all right, that was obviously a green blob that they just swung in the air. And then
right.
Tracked it for however you talk about it. But yeah, no, I also thought, we'll get into it in a minute, but the opening cartoon,
that was cool.
I could have done the whole movie, do animation.
Yeah.
Tell that story. Like, forget the kids and all the real people.
I know. Yeah, when that started, I was like, oh, am I going to love this movie? Because if it's all like this, I mean, I'm gonna. I mean, I knew it wasn't animated, but like if it had that tone, if it was that cool, this would be like one of my favorite movies of that year.
Yeah, that was cool.
But okay, let's talk about who made the movie. Okay, so the movie's directed by Joe Cornish, and he is someone who, let's see what else he directed. He has done The Kid Who Would Be King, Attack the Block. He is also Bob in Hot Fuzz. And I think he's uncredited in Shaun of the Dead. I don't
know.
I don't know.
You know what? I bet he was in the pub that they went to a lot. They had a couple people there that were like regulars. That's because when I look at his picture, I don't recognize him.
And the woman,
No,
or just background fodder of the pub.
I think just a patron.
Yeah, I think it's someone who kind of just says like a line or two. It's not a main player. But he's not an older guy. He's not like the pub owners. But it's also written by Joe Cornish, and then the music is by Electric Wave Bureau. And I was like, what the heck is Electric Wave Bureau? And then I discovered this, which I thought was sort of odd. I haven't heard of this. If this description will load again. Oh, Micah, you're going to have to edit so much of this podcast now.
Is it AI?
No. It is.
It sounds like it.
A London-based collaborative artist collective dedicated to composing and sourcing music for film, television, radio, and online, named after the North Korean government agency that monitors and stops residents receiving Western entertainment on electric devices.
Whoa.
Founders include musician Michael Smith, artist Susie Winstanley, Nelson De Freitas, and musician Damon Albarn. Recent projects include The Kid Who Would Be King, Paddington, Paddington 2, and Broken.
Ah, Paddington. Very nice.
I thought the music in this was cool.
I thought it was good, yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to. I don't really remember it for some reason. It's just skipping my mind, but I'll have to check it back out because the whole, the production of this movie was really well done.
It was.
Yeah.
I just don't necessarily agree with the storyline.
yeah. It's like, oh, you could have cleaned this up and trimmed a lot of fat off of this story.
You said Joe Cornish.
Yeah.
He attacked the block. Have you seen that movie?
No,
I haven't.
It's got John Boyega in it.
Okay.
Main character, and basically this block of houses, like aliens attack it, and it's about, and they're in Britain, and you might like it. It's a really interesting storyline for like an alien attack movie.
Huh.
That sounds sort of Edgar Wrighty.
Yeah, definitely.
Like the kind of At World's End sort of thing. Maybe not as serious as that movie, but
ooh, it looks cool.
yeah, we should definitely watch that.
Yeah.
That looks sweet.
Yeah, I don't remember that one being super long, and I thought I keep coming back to that. No, but I thought the story on that one just it was a good written story, and I think you might be interested as well.
Cool.
Well, so the cinematographer of this movie is Bill Pope, and he is a Raimi guy.
Cool.
So he did the cinematography for Darkman, Army of Darkness. Spoiler alert, because they're patrons on here, later this year we'll be talking about him because he did all 3 Matrix movies. Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Cool.
The World's End. Yes, I knew we'd talked about this guy before. Oh, and he's doing Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which we will also be talking about later this year. So
he's good at his job.
Wow. He's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I actually thought as the movie progressed, it kind of simmered down. But the beginning of the movie, I was like, this is kind of stylish. Like they're doing some interesting shots for a kid's movie. But then it sort of simmers, and then at the end, it kind of goes buck wild again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Comes out in the U.S. on January 25th, 2019. It has a budget of $59 million, and then it doesn't quite make that money. Domestically, it makes 16.7, and worldwide, it makes 28.
Ooh, that's bad.
And yeah, so it's estimated that the loss on this movie could be as high as $50 million.
Really? That's bad.
But I think there's a little more to this because as any film buff, any film student knows, January is a dump month.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's where you dump off movies. Occasionally you get a glass in there. And it doesn't mean the movies are always going to be bad, but it's a lot of times people are still excited from the Christmas season. They want to go to the theater so they can trick people into seeing movies they don't care to see. So January, dump the movie.
Isn't February kind of like that too?
Yeah.
And didn't Get Out come out in February?
It did.
So every once in a while you get like a really standout movie.
Well, and
this not being one.
Black Panther They came out in February, but that was smart because it was Black History Month.
Yep.
And so, like, with that movie tied so closely to that, that movie exploded when it came out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they kind of dumped this movie, but this is, if you remember, so this was distributed by 20th Century Fox, and Walt Disney Company took control of the studio on March 20th, 2019. So this would be during the transition period or right before.
Okay.
So I think had Disney maybe had a chance to market it or something like that, the movie could have done a lot better.
Yeah.
Rather than them just being like, well, this is our second to the last movie we're going to release, whatever.
That's kind of a bummer for them.
Yeah. And people like it. I mean, like, critics kind of dig the movie.
Well, it's a very average rating. Yeah. Even on like IMDb, and I feel like that's very fine. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, it's not horribly boring. It's not, it's not clunky. It tells a pretty interesting story. Obviously, there could be improvements, but
yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought it was. I was really, really dragging my feet to watch this movie.
So were we. We had to make this excuse so that we'd get ourselves to watch it.
It's true.
I was worried because in the trailers, it showed that scene where he says, you're like Luke Skywalker and Frodo and
Harry Potter
and stuff. And I thought, like, is this movie going to be just referencing pop culture? Is it going to be him being like Iron Man smash? Or, well, Hulk smash, really. But, like, saying stuff from other movies and stuff. But it wasn't that.
You know what I think is King Arthur, Robin Hood, like those public domain stories get made every so often for that reason exactly. And this, I'm sure, is no exception. I wonder if someone even came to the director and was like, have you ever had a King Arthur idea? And he probably wrote this movie. And usually when they come out with the new one, it's like, can they just do something so different? Like, it doesn't even feel like it anymore. And I feel like they did a pretty good job. I mean, they marketed it to kids, which I think is good because they usually try to make it way too epic and it's boring to adults. But I just kind of feel like this movie being very average and very okay, it's like maybe we should just stop doing this story for like 50 years and then come back after decades of Wes forgetting the story and it's going to be a classic.
Yeah.
Because it's just kind of boring.
Well, we know where you stand on it. Why don't you hit us with those sweet, sweet actors?
Yeah, so the kid who plays Alex, our protagonist, is Louis Ashbourne Serkis. If you recognize that last name, it's because he's the son of Andy Serkis, which was pretty crazy.
That's wild.
He's in The Queen's Gambit.
Once you see that once you hear that he is his son, you look at the movie and you're like, oh, he looks just like Andy Serkis.
He looks a lot like him.
Shane's running for his phone right now.
He's also in Mowgli, Alice Through the Looking Glass, Mary and the Witch's Flower. He's also in The Hobbit.
Really?
An Unexpected Journey.
Wow, that took me way too long to put the picture, the face to the name. Andy Serkis, like Smeagol?
Oh, yeah.
No,
that's
you're right.
Which would make sense why he's probably in The Hobbit.
And Mowgli.
Yeah. Surprised he's not in a Planet of the Apes movie.
Yeah.
But and then Tom Taylor, who plays Lance the mean kid. Mike and I have seen this kid before. He showed his face in The Dark Tower and sucked bad.
Yeah. Wait, Shane, have you seen The Dark Tower?
Yeah, with the Stephen King.
Yeah.
That jumps like all 8 books in one movie, and
yep.
Yeah,
really just they missed out on that one. It could have had a franchise instead. Let's get it all done in one.
I know.
Especially because it feels like nowadays they even stretch things to be even longer. Like a Mockingjay can come out where it's like that should have just been one movie.
Or The Hobbit is 3 movies all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's like stretching them out. And then Dark Tower, they're like, 8 books. And interconnected other novels, probably somewhere between like 5,000 to 7,000 pages. One of the greatest stories ever written. Let's make it one movie.
Here's the thing, though. One, I think it's a little bit potentially unfilmable, the series.
Sure.
And we've listened to the King Cast episode with the guy who almost did the show, and I want him to do it. But let's pretend that doesn't exist. That is like basically unfilmable. And I think they were like, well, if we put Stephen King's name on anything, it'll sell.
Yeah.
So they put it on his most confusing work and just thought that his name would be enough.
Right.
And it was so bad. And that kid was really bad in it.
What was funny, and for the listener, and I don't know if you know this, Shane, but they reshot a lot of that movie. And when you're watching the movie, you can tell what they reshot because the kid went through puberty in between that time.
He did. He really
so
did.
So it's like you have a kid who has like a higher voice, and then in the next scene, you'll have a kid who has a lower voice pretending he has a high voice. It's awful. And Matthew McConaughey's hair is messed up in the reshoots, and then it's like slicked back and cool, well, quote unquote, cool looking when it's not the reshoot. It's crazy.
Yeah. Dean Chaumu plays Betters, the girl. This is the only thing she's in.
Wait, Betters is not the girl.
Oh, sorry. No, his friend. Sorry.
Okay.
His friend. And
Bestie friend.
Yes. And then Rihanna Doris plays Kay, the girl. And she is in this, Secret Life of Boys 2.
Oh.
And
we'll
not
have
much
to cover
else.
that series.
I don't think we've talked about Rebecca Ferguson on either platform. She's the bad guy. She's in Mission Impossible. I mean, which ones? How many? 3?
She starts in Rogue Nation,
okay.
and then she's been in and then she's in the next 2.
Yeah.
She's been in the last 2 Mission Impossible movies, and I believe
she's not the wife in that series. She's the other female, just agent that we don't really know what her deal is.
Well, you learn, Shane, as the series progresses. Come on. She starts
you're right.
as like the assassin in the opera house in the first movie, the 5th movie, Rogue Nation. And then in the other one, she's the one on the motorcycle that's like trying to kill. We're going to cover that series one of these days.
And we'll talk about her more.
Oh, yeah.
But she's also in Dr. Sleep and Life and a ton of other stuff. But I'm just hitting the highlights. And then Angus Emery plays young Merlin.
Performance of the movie.
And when I was looking stuff up about this movie, everyone was talking about him over everyone else.
Good.
Yeah.
He was so good.
He was good.
Put him in a Marvel movie.
Me and Jack were talking when it wasn't him or the older version in the movie. It seemed like the main character had to do all the heavy lifting.
Yes, I agree.
Right. You're right.
I agree.
Keeping you entertained. I mean, granted, there's a lot of scenes where he's by himself, but even when the other 3 are there, they're kind of just...
Yeah, that kid is acting his heart out in this movie. He's doing a good job. Angus Emery is in the newest Emma movie that came out with Anya Taylor-Joy. He's in The Crown, Fleabag.
So he's doing fine.
Yeah, he's in a lot of stuff. It looks like a lot of BBC British stuff currently. But yeah, he was really good.
That's such a specific thing too, because he's being really kooky and wacky, and that is such a fine line between this is the worst performance and this is the best performance.
He commits.
And he nails it.
He commits. Yeah.
All the
See, it looks dumb when you do it.
I know.
And then I don't think we've talked about Sir Patrick Stewart, but he's in this movie too. Just enough that it is like he's on the cover of the movie, and I bet that did help the bump a little bit.
The cover of the movie, they sold it that hard.
They did.
So here I was in my head, I was keeping a running count of how many days he was on set. And I can't imagine that he was there for more than 1 week. And that's including, I think he was there for 5 working days.
Yeah.
He does a good job.
Yeah.
But I think he was there for 5 working days. I think Rebecca Ferguson was there for maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Sure.
Well,
in 3 scenes, and she's in like 5, but half of them are just CGI.
CG.
Yeah. She's in the studio more than she's on set for this, for sure.
Doing the...
I hated it so much.
I almost said the phrase that Jesus says when he's dying on the cross.
Oh,
my
really?
God, why have you forsaken me? I almost said like what is it? Latin or not Latin? I don't remember what language he's speaking. Arabic? Aramaic? I don't know.
I don't remember right now. Sorry. Mike can tell us because he's probably listening to this.
That's true. Yeah, I'm just blanking. Well, I kind of forgot. But so the movie begins.
Yeah.
And we got this cool animation sequence that explains the legend of Arthur. And I'm thinking, okay, do we have another Mortal Engines on our hands? Are we going to be like in the corner of people need to see Kid Who Would Be King? Because this movie is cool.
It was good.
By the way, did you watch Mortal Engines yet?
I think I watched part of it. Haven't finished it. Need to get through it. You know, not that saying that's a bad thing. I just got other things on the docket to watch, my friends.
Good movie.
That one's good, but it is a little bit like if you're not in the mood,
yeah.
it's pretty boring.
Hey.
It's true about some
it's got
movies.
Shrike in it. That's all it needs.
Fine.
So it's this cool animation, and then we see our main character, Alex, waking up, going about his day. This is where there's kind of some cool shots, like the camera following him down the stairs.
Yeah,
and
it
it's
looks
the
like a
same
one
set.
shot.
And the thing I did really like about this movie that I think was very, very cool was all of the newspapers and TV stations and all this stuff. Everyone's talking about how like the world is really hopeless and it's gonna burn and everything's corrupt, and you know they are painting a nice picture of like this is a terrible place, and it needs hope.
Yeah.
Really
I thought they nailed that
depressing
part.
for a kids movie.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I was like, yeah, that's just all these things I see every day.
Don't tell them when they're too young.
But then we get the classic bully setup here.
Yeah, his friends texting him, "Get to school now. They got me." And his friend, Betters, he is adorable. I don't know if acting's for him, but he was very cute. But he had one expression, and it was just wide eyes. He's surprised, happy, sad. I don't know, but it was one expression the whole time.
Yeah.
But he's cute, and I think when we were watching it, we were talking about like you do kind of have to judge it, kids on a hard at a high expectation because we have such good child actors currently that you can't hold them at the standard of like, well, let me think of like Stranger Things or like the kids in It were really good, you know.
Well, and also the circus kid, he's great.
Circus kid,
like Andy Serkis' son.
I thought he was great.
He was really good.
He was the emotional core of this movie. The bullies are bullying his friend, and he can't do anything about it. Oh, he gets in a fight with Lance.
That's right.
And he goes to the principal's office, and the principal basically says, "You can't change anything.
Yeah.
Have fun in life." Well, Shane, what do you think of the bullies in general?
They're okay. They're your stereotypical. Just there's clearly a problem at the school. The school staff is just ignorant. That's what kids do. It's like, no, he's beating him up. Like he's holding him upside down by his feet, and that's okay. Like,
and then they just let him go, and they're lucky he doesn't crack his head open on the pavement.
Yeah.
And then he stands up for his friend. Alex does, and then the school's like, no, you can't do that. You can't defend yourself. You just got to take the beating. You're like, what message are you sending kids?
I know. No wonder the world's so depressing in this movie.
Our main character, Alex, is chased to like this concrete building that's under construction. And he sees a sword in some of the cement, or maybe some would call it a stone. And he just pulls it right out.
Yeah, I gotta say, the sword is like very generic looking, and maybe
wasn't
that's
that cool
the point.
looking. It was not that cool looking.
It could have been cooler, and it looked like it was gonna break at any moment.
It sort of looked plastic.
Well, yeah, maybe they are foreshadowing, and it's not a valid complaint, but it just looked a little, I don't know, not a. I don't know. It's like Excalibur, isn't it supposed to be like cooler looking.
or like gold or something like that. But it just has like a little green LED flashlight on it that kind of pulses every once in a while. So they pull this out of the concrete, and
that concrete, it's just in a foundation. I'm sorry, the placement of it, like it's in a construction site, just standing in a foundation to a building,
Yeah.
right in the middle of the site. You're like, you think this would be on the news? Like people would be like, we found this at a while we were demoing this building, and there's just this sword in the stone, and
yeah, it's like it's a man-made stone thing that it's in. Well, like,
does that mean that like someone after Alexander like found it, and then they were like on the construction site while they're working on this building, and they're like, whoo, they wipe the sweat from their brow and they stab it into the concrete?
I actually, and I could be wrong about this, and they might have just not explained it well, but when Merlin comes, does he say something about like I know he comes at a specific time before all the bad stuff happens, but did he put the sword there maybe?
I don't
for him
think that was said.
That would make sense to me if he put it there for him for him, like he puts it there as a test so some random kid can stumble upon this construction site and pull it out.
I don't think so, because when he shows up in the next scene, he's like, wait, it's 4 days to the eclipse? I thought I had 4 years.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't think that's the situation.
There's something going on there though, because King Arthur's from what, the 1800s? Or
I think like what before that.
No. I think he's like 13, 14.
Yeah, we're talking almost 1,000 years ago.
Uh-huh.
I'm certain rebar and forming up concrete was, maybe 1910. Let's be generous. Like,
yeah, right.
There's like 600 years where that sword just like somehow walks through time into that pier. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
Yeah.
But I guess we're gonna go with it because we still got an hour and 45 minutes left.
So then Merlin shows up, and it's the young kid. He's great.
I love it when he turns into an owl. I think that special effect was like my favorite.
And he's sneezing, like he's like, poof, and then he turns into
I thought
owl.
it was so good.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's a real like good nod to the Sword in the Stone movie, right? Doesn't he turn into an owl in the cartoon?
I think he does.
It's been so long since I've seen it, but I will believe it.
I'm pretty sure he does turn into an owl. Yeah. But yeah, and he's kind of like, he's the funniest part of the movie. You know, he needs to eat certain ingredients to keep his magic alive, and they're all found
like processed food.
This chicken restaurant, and I thought all of that was very funny.
Yeah.
And he does those jokes that I love that they do all the time in the show What We Do in the Shadows, where he says like, I'm a perfectly normal contemporary boy. It's like, we were rewatching. Have you watched that show?
I've seen a few of the episodes, yeah.
So we were watching, there's one that has Mark Hamill in it. It's like the funniest episode. And like Mark Hamill is this vampire, and he goes to a bar, and he says,
because he's trying to find another vampire, but this other vampire is okay.
Yeah, we don't have to go.
No,
into
I'm
all
just
of
saying.
it,
I was
but-
about to say the disguise part.
Okay.
Well, this other vampire's in disguise, and all his disguise is he puts on blue jeans and a toothpick in his mouth, and no one recognizes him. And he's basically like, I'm a normal man.
Yeah, but then Mark Hamill comes up to the bar, and he's like, please, may I have one human beer so that I can drink it? And then they like he throws it over his shoulder because he can't drink it.
I forgot about that.
That's
Sorry.
so funny.
So Merlin shows up to school.
Yeah.
And he's a new student, and he's weird. And Alex is, his betters wants to be friends with him because he seems so cool. And Alex is like, no, there's finally someone uncooler than us. Let's stay away. And of course, Merlin wants to hang with Alex and betters because he knows Alex is like King Arthur or whatever. And
that to the whole school, and then they
yeah,
I like that.
throwing bottles at him.
Yeah,
I did like that. That was nice. And then what happens right after that?
So then what happens is he finds out about the 4 days to the total eclipse, and then that night, Alex is attacked by like a flaming skeleton thing.
I liked that. I liked the skeleton dudes. They were cool.
That's cool. And I like there's this concept in the movie that only someone who has been knighted, when these things come out to attack, exists in time. So everything else disappears.
Yeah, I thought that was cool too.
Good way to get rid of the questions of how many people are dying in this movie.
Yes, yes.
But then we have this thing, and this is, it's just ever since I started watching Studio Ghibli movies and anime movies, I've noticed that this is such an American thing, although this is a British movie. So I guess it's like a Western culture thing.
Sure.
Where the parents always have to be convinced that what's happening is real.
Yeah.
And that's not always a bad thing, but sometimes in movies like this, it's like, well, we know it's real. Can we just skip the part where his mom doesn't believe him?
Well, they do They do that pretty much as they can for a Western type movie because she is definitely very concerned for her son. But they pretty much could have taken the mom out of the movie and we would not have noticed because he like runs away and stuff. And she's just like, I guess I'll cry about it. That's kind of it.
Well, she, as an actress or an actor, she's just concerned the whole, like, just this kind of this, like this crazy, like the whole movie, her eyes are wide open. And
yes.
I was doing eye wide, and you couldn't see it, and I looked up like, oh, all that expression, I'm for nothing. But no, she played no pivotal role other than the whole latter half of the movie where the quest they're on to find the dad turns around, but even then at the end of the movie she has nothing to do with it.
I know
So they
could have also taken I get character wise for Alex why they had the dad thing, like that was something he could hold on to. It reminds me of like Onward, that Pixar movie is all like motivated by the dad, but they could have, I think, had just as easily not have put that in the movie too. I don't think he needed to be motivated by his to like be descended from this great lineage. I think it's just like, I pulled a sword out of a stone. That's good enough for me. I'll go save the world.
And yeah, I get that they're trying to say like anyone can do it and you don't have to be from lineage. You don't have to have midi-chlorians. You can just be a Jedi. Like that's the message they're trying to send. But it did feel like kind of a nothing reveal. When they just get there and they're like, yeah, your dad, he wasn't anything. He was an alcoholic. Which, I mean, those are interesting lessons. I'm not saying there should have just been something more impactful about that, or just cut the whole dad storyline.
Yeah.
Why is the sister getting punished? The sister being the dad's sister. She's just now cut out of her nephew's life because the dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even think about that.
That is a good point because later in the movie when he's reconciling things with his mom and she's apologizing and she's like, I know your aunt called me. And it's like, is that the first time you've spoken in 10 years? That's a really good point. It's just weak writing.
You're like, so the grandparents, they're cut out because of the stuff. Like, I mean, something truly heinous, but she seemed nice. I don't know.
She was running what looked like a very nice bed and breakfast.
And it seems like they should be vacationing there, like during the summers or something like that.
Looked really nice.
So, okay, so we've talked about that. Let's talk about... No, we've already talked about how Patrick Stewart was only there for 5 days. So, the bully... What do I have here? I wrote, bully pull the stone out. What the heck does that mean?
Well, you're probably talking about when he's cornered by the bullies again and he wants the sword and he's like, I'll give you the sword if you let me knight you, and you can, because he sees the ground starting to shake and
I like this whole sequence a lot.
I thought it was good too.
I thought it was really fun. It is funny though when they're like hide and they just kind of barely get behind a pillar where you can clearly see them.
Yeah.
But then they get in a car and it's cool because... also, I laughed very hard, a genuine laugh at this. But they get in this car, these 4 kids, they've been knighted, and they're being chased by these 4 skeleton flaming horse guys.
Yes.
This is all cool.
Yeah.
They're chasing them, and then they're driving around. They do the thing that every movie has to do for some reason, where someone that you wouldn't expect can drive is driving, and they drive really well.
Good.
And then someone says, "Where'd you learn to drive?" And they always respond, "Mario Kart."
Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, or Grand Theft Auto. So anyway, the girl's driving around and she's skidding around like crazy, and we're killing these crazy beasts and stuff. And then time goes back to normal, and since everyone disappears when time stops, they reappear when time starts. And this old woman appears underneath the driver, and everyone starts screaming. And I thought that was a genuinely great moment.
I liked that.
It was so funny. And also the whole fight scene, I was like, are they gonna is there gonna be a person there? Because
I wasn't even thinking about it until they showed up again.
It was so funny. So then
the movie does nothing but nosedive from there.
That is kind of the height, actually. But I do like the last fight. But we're gonna get there. Cool your jets, Shane.
I'm cooling these jets. Jets are hot right now.
So then we have talk about the chivalric code. There's some Stonehenge action. Then,
like the Stonehenge thing.
Yeah, they're teleports.
Yeah.
Fantastic idea.
I love it too, how it's like there was a tour guide and the guy's talking about like what the significance could be, because we never really know. And Merlin's just like, come on, it's this. And they just walk through it. That was great.
Also, I learned for the first time, and I feel like an idiot for this, but I learned for the first time that Stonehenge is in Britain.
And where did you think it was?
I wasn't sure. I just didn't know. I just thought it was somewhere in Europe.
Yeah, it's in Britain.
Yep. It's always been.
It seemed too like ancient and crazy to be in Britain, I thought.
Then you know so little about about history there, because people have been living there for like beginning of time kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The other answers we would have accepted Ireland, maybe, because part of it is Britain, and Scotland. You know, it's all very similar looking from what I've seen on the internet.
Yeah.
I think if you put a gun to my head, I probably would have said Scotland, actually.
Okay.
Because I feel like there's a scene in Thor the Dark World where there's Stonehenge.
Okay.
And I think there's also a scene in that movie there's a scene in Ragnarok that's in Scotland. So I probably have flipped those around, because in Dark World they go around the globe quite a bit.
Only you can remember that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. Come on. It's when what's his name? Skarsgård is being real crazy.
Oh, Stellan
Skarsgård, yeah.
Okay, let's get back to this movie.
So there's one quote in that movie where they're heading out to, I think, Stonehenge, and Bettersphere.
Yeah.
He said something along those lines, like, "Oh, we can't go out to the country, not without adult supervision and a high-vis vest." Like, what?
Yeah.
What? What do you mean a high-vis vest? I'm so confused.
It is just kind of like, what kind of life are you living, kid? What's going on?
Yeah, he was a bit strange.
If that's true, if that is how sheltered he probably was, how come police had never at any point stopped these children from on public transportation? I know once you get into the country, that could be kind of hard to find a kid, but also they seem to be gone for a while, and no one remembered them. Which was it's kind of depressing if you think about.
So you're telling me Bettersphere, the Bullies.
Yeah, Butterbeer.
Butterbeer. You're telling me all three of those people have one of two things. One, they don't have parents, or two, they have parents who just don't care where their kids are at all.
Well,
that one part when they were
gonna say, yeah.
So it's when like Lance and Kay find out about the sword thing, and Lance is like, "You were coming to my house right now and telling me everything," and they do it, and it's the round table thing, and then they leave Alex and Betters, and and then Lance and Kay, like, they close the door on them, and then they turn and they start talking. I'm like, do they live together? Are they like a young married couple? Where are their parents?
It's very weird. That was such a weird thing. And was it ever clarified what their relationship was?
I think they were just friends.
Yeah, never clarified. Just
there was maybe if we would have gotten a 2.
Like I think it was. You don't have to clarify it, but I feel like because they included the scene where they close the door and it looks like they share a home together, an explanation would have been nice. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe there was a will there, won't they throughout the movie that we just missed and it went right over our heads.
Or maybe it was a dare. I dare you to marry her at age 13.
Okay, weird.
Truth or dare? It gets high stakes in Britain. They fight some trees.
That looked pretty cool. It also was just like, so when they started into the countryside and Merlin was like, you guys got to be trained, all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're already so far into this movie. They're training them now. They have like 2 days to be trained. Just get them to where they need to go.
Hey, they get a lot more time to train than the next group we'll talk about later.
It made no sense.
Yeah, okay, let's try and get through it because we do really need to talk about that. There's the Lady of the Water who gives up the sword and doesn't give up the sword and stuff.
She's always there to, like, he can throw the sword in the water and she's there to give it back to him, and then she also repairs the sword. Which in that scene it happens.
I'm sorry, I think you meant the hand of the water.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
I sort of dug the concept of that.
The whole like folklore is fun, but the whole like Lance thing, it's just like that. I know in the movie you got to have the tension and character building. They could have chipped off like 10 minutes of it though, because it's just like, Lance, you're an idiot. Can you just be agreeable at some point so that we can get on with the story? That's how I kind of felt at this point.
Yeah, it is a little tiresome when someone's like, here's all this magic stuff. We've been attacked by this thing. You've clearly said stuff. And they're like, yeah, I believe all that other stuff, but I don't believe that you can boss me around because I don't believe in legends. And you're like, what are you talking about?
You just fought a tree.
Yeah, they clearly they kept that fight going, and then they just walked over it towards.
Yeah.
Like 45 minutes later, you're like, we could have cut a half hour out of this movie if you just been on board in the first place.
I know.
We at the point where they're just walking in waist deep water.
Yes. A long time. Yeah.
Why are they walking through the lake? I didn't get that. They could have just walked around.
I feel like that's probably like part of the story that they're referencing that maybe we're not familiar with. But
also this part of the story,
it's weird.
The Kay character, it does kind of feel like you had to put a girl in there. That's how she kind of feels for me, because this would be the moment of her character where she like stands up to Lance finally. But no, she continues to be like sensitive or like follows him. And it's like, do you have a backbone? He's being dumb, and we can tell that you think that he's being dumb.
You're so right. That should have been her moment.
She never really had a moment, and it just kind of felt like, well, we got to have a girl in here.
Yeah,
I feel like she does have a moment. She has a line. I wouldn't say a moment. We'll get to it, but just remind me of a line. I've written it down.
Okay.
So then we finally get to the like ruin structure, and they go underground.
Well,
can we just get to that?
Okay. There's some other stuff, but that's fine.
Well, does he find out about his dad before that?
Yeah, which we kind of talked about.
Okay.
And then but it is cool when he visits his dad, he puts the stone in the ground, and then like the whole town starts trying to get the stone out and no one can. And then he just walks up and he's like, whooshing!
And everyone cheers. That was cute.
Yeah, I liked that part a lot. So then I have this note here that says Patrick shows up for his second day of the shoot and tells him to make his own legend.
Yeah.
But so then they get armor. Oh yeah, they get armor. So you're like, okay, they're gearing up. This is it. And Butterbeer has figured out the duplication spell.
Oh yeah.
And so you're like, okay, this is ramping up. This is the end of the movie. And then they descend into the 7 layers of hell, and they're going through. And I'm being facetious. It's not hell, but I did not get the uproarious laughter that I was expecting when I said that.
Oh, sorry. That's embarrassing for you.
I was too focused on remembering the feather in Alex's helmet as they're going down.
What?
He had a feather in his helmet. He did.
Armor was absurd.
Yeah.
It was so absurd, and the feather was just making me die.
So
His helmet also looked too small for his head. But
Oh, right.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
I'm seeing the feather now.
Right here,
yeah, but someone can still like decapitate you or something. Yeah.
Well, so what?
Huh?
Doesn't mean it's not a perfect movie.
What are you talking
So then
about?
he goes down and he fights Rebecca Ferguson. This is probably her third day of shooting. And
Yeah.
it was maybe like 2 or 3 days of shooting to get all this stuff.
And I love Rebecca Ferguson. Hated the voice that she chose to do. It was like fingernails on a chalkboard for me.
I feel the same way about her as Patrick Stewart in this movie, where I'm like, they did what they were supposed to do,
That's
but they
true.
didn't stand out in any way. And I feel like this was definitely a paycheck gig for them, which is not necessarily bad.
Yeah.
It would have been bad if they didn't do a good job, but it's not like I don't think you're gonna hear Rebecca Ferguson talking about how much she enjoyed making this movie. She's
Oh,
gonna be like,
yeah.
it was great. I got to go to my hometown for a little bit, film some stuff, and then get back to Mission Impossible. You know.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So he fights her. She turns into this crazy looking, but it's smaller this time, like this skin witch dragon. That was a pretty interesting design that I thought was wicked awesome. I loved it.
I loved it too. It was cool.
Did you like the design of the dragon?
yeah, it was different.
Yeah.
It wasn't your typical Disney dragon that we've
hmm
from the Sleeping Beauty. It wasn't like that. It was.
hmm
It stood out, which
hmm
and then again the CGI on it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I think so too.
So
And I feel like it wasn't like quite scary enough that a kid's gonna have nightmares. So I think
I don't know. I thought
well,
it was
later in the
pretty
movie,
freaky.
later in the movie though,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, that's scary, and then he just cuts her head off. Like that's
Yeah.
intense.
Spoiler alert!
Yeah.
Spoiler alert!
So, yeah, he stabs her in the heart, and she like pretty definitely dies. And I think to myself, this is so anticlimactic.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is kind of odd.
Yeah.
Did you? I mean, I'm sure you felt the same way.
Oh yeah, it was just like, okay, that was quick. And then the proceedings, the scenes after it, it's like, oh, they're clearly like they're really throwing in this resolution, like it's over. Well, and then I think I leaned over to Jack and I go, this isn't the end, is it? And we looked at the timing on it. We're like, no, unfortunately, it's not the end. So another like half hour of this movie. Like, what else is there to say?
I know. It's like, why does this movie think it can do this storyline? Because like I've heard the complaint before about like Return of the King, how it never ends. And it's like, that's fine. They earned the whole like never ending ending because it's Lord of the Rings. This doesn't get that. Just end the movie.
But what's funny too is this should have happened 20 minutes earlier, and then it would have felt a little more like structural. Not that a movie has to just follow structure all the time,
Right.
but it does that, and then it's like resolving all this stuff. It feels like it's resolving stuff character wise, and then Alexander's up in his room, and you see all these roots around his window. And I genuinely thought it was going to cut to black because they were expecting to make Kid Who Would Be King 2.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Which would have been an awful ending as well, but that's what I was like, oh, okay. But then the movie continues.
And it kicks up into overdrive at this point, my friend.
Uh-huh.
This is so it's like the movie loses me in the middle. It's pretty boring. It's taking too long to get anywhere. I like the final set piece. I like it a lot. They basically hypnotize the school so that everyone gets knighted so they can use all the kids to fight skeletons.
And you go, Shane, because I feel like
Yes.
you're going to say what I was thinking.
What you are going to say, I
Yeah.
agree with, Shane, because I know what it is.
I don't think you know. We'll get there. But, so for one, they hypnotize the adults. They then try to convince the kids to fight along with them, and that's where Kay has this quote: "In the game, it's 100% real."
That's right.
Plus, we'll be doing this instead of class today, and everyone cheers. And
that's true. That's true. That's funny. What to add on top of that?
That's her moment. That's what you're saying. That's her big moment.
And I think the big kicker of this whole scene is they tell us they only have 2 hours to get it done.
Right.
And that is just not possible for how much movie we watch.
And what's funny is it shows a training montage. So I thought like
it would have taken 2 hours to assemble the kids on the lawn.
We're doing this instead of school today. You tell me school only lasts 2 hours? They haven't even started yet.
It makes no sense.
See, if like the other thing happens, say on day 2 of the solar eclipse, or even have Merlin show up 7 days before, they get there in 2 days, and then they have 5 days for them to figure things out, or something like that. It'd be a little more believable.
I
mean, at this point, who cares?
Oh, yeah.
Honestly. But it is funny because it's showing training montages, and they're like duplicating the armor.
And they're making like booby traps.
They're going all Home Alone on these things.
Yes.
But I like the tactics of the fight. I think they're fun. So like when the skeleton things show up, they drive cars into them, which of course they've booby trapped. They've had enough time to booby trap all these cars. And then,
I thought it was funny when they got all the teachers to give them the keys because they were hypnotized. Yeah. That was funny.
Yeah. And then they attacked them in the hallways as well with like those pool things that divide pools.
Yeah.
Those pool things.
Yeah.
The lane dividers in an Olympic swimming pool.
There we go.
Thank you.
And then they go to the gym and they're throwing, like they're swinging stuff down. It's very Return of the Jedi Ewok fight. And I'm into it. I'm loving it. And then Morga, I think is her name? Morgana comes out, and then she's Big Dragon now.
Yeah.
I like Big Dragon. And they're fighting the Big Dragon, and she kind of takes out Merlin when he's an owl, and you're like, okay, surely he's dead. But all they have to do is just give him another bottle of his liquid beetle guts and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's fine after that.
What do we have on set? Shoot. I got a bottle of
Pepto-Bismol.
They do all that, and then finally...
Well, this part... I think
long.
that it's too long, and I think like the blocking or the directing just wasn't very good in this scene because they have kids putting ropes all over the dragon, which I get why they're doing it, but then like they're just holding onto these ropes for so long, and then Alex is just running around, and I know he's like trying not to get killed, but this whole sequence is just very long, and it's also like kind of confusing with what's happening because then like all of a sudden he jumps on top of the dragon while the dragon's in like a vortex that Merlin's opened, decapitates her, and then just like jumps off, no problem.
It is nuts that he decapitates her. When he was on top of her, I was like, please cut her head off. That would be so cool. And then he did it, and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of surprised that they did that.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty graphic.
But there was no blood, so they got away with it.
It was cool. Because already the dragon was pretty scary looking. And then it's like, add on top of that, you're cutting its head off.
Yeah.
And then that's it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember what happens after that. I was pretty much done at that point.
I think Merlin has a spiel. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I do remember because it's Patrick Stewart's last day. Probably his 4 at
last
this
day
point.
On set.
Yeah. And the book that has had some weird significance throughout the movie because his dad signed it, my once and future king, Dad. I've got a lot of questions there. And then it turns out that it's not even his dad that wrote it. It was his mom that wrote it.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah, what?
But this book is like the Bible.
Why did she feel the need to be the one who signed it?
She explains it. She wanted him to have a good view of his father. That never turns up in the movie.
But my once and future king. What does that mean?
Doesn't that mean? The only thing that makes sense to me does it mean just like king once and for all, eternal.
She's calling him God.
But anyway,
Yeah.
Merlin shows up and hands him the book, and it's now the book has been rewritten and it's about them and not King Arthur. And
Yeah.
it's like,
I sort of thought that was cute.
I thought it was cute. Yeah, it was cute. But it is like, I hope they didn't need any more information out of that book.
okay, you're just going to introduce a character, I don't know, an hour and a half into the podcast. Who's this?
It's Tad.
We'll talk about it in a minute then. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
It's our cat Tad.
I've never met Tad before, and you're dropping this information now? That you have a cat named Tad?
Yeah.
What a cutie.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. He's very old. He's very old. Yeah, I mean, do we have any last minute things to say about this movie?
Cute that Patrick Stewart let Betters keep his magic. Thought that was cute. But then the movie ends and it's fine, I guess. We own it. So
We own it on Blu-ray, of course. I think that this is a fun movie with a lot of problems, but like especially if you have kids, like let them watch it. Like it's cool. I would have loved this as a kid.
yeah, I think I would have liked it.
It just would have been one of those movies where, like like mini movies where you watch them now and you're like, oh, I don't like it as much as I did, but I get why I liked it so much as a kid.
Well, this is what's going to happen. First of all, Shane, thanks for gifting us this movie. And also, thanks
my
for
pleasure.
in the future, whenever Micah and I have kids, and our kids watch this movie, and let's say they really like it, and they're going to talk about it with their friends, and their friends will have never heard of this movie because no one's going to watch this movie. We're probably the only people that own it.
Our kids will be obsessed with The Kid Who Would Be King and Mortal Engines.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will never watch this movie again, but I'll be at a friend's house, or like your guys' house where there's going to be a kid around and it's going to be on TV and it's going to be a guilty pleasure. Like, I'm just going to hang out with the kids for a bit.
Yeah.
Catch up on a few scenes and really relive the moments,
Cool. Well, listener, we love you patrons, and if you ever want to gift us a movie, make sure it's Blu-ray, and we love getting movies. It doesn't mean you're going to get a guest on the episode. It's not a guarantee or anything like that. But you can always give us movies on Blu-ray. And also next month for you patrons, we're getting ready for Space Jam so that we can cover the new legacy. So
July
is going to be Space Jam, and then I think Space Jam 2 comes out July 9th, so our Patreon episode will come out
in August.
So that's our next MPU, the sequel series. So
Very excited. I haven't seen Space Jam since I was a kid, and I
neither.
watched the movie so often the VHS got messed up.
I love that movie.
But thanks for being on, Shane.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I gotta say, you're my once and future king. All right, patrons, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, MPU. My name is Jack O'Hara. I am a long-time listener, first-time guest. My older brother is Shane O'Hara, and I have known Jordan and Micah McCaw for a long time, since grade school. Unfortunately, I couldn't be present for the recording of the conversation around the movie, The Kid Who Would Be King, but I still wanted to send in a voice memo so I get something positive out of sitting through 2 hours of a bad movie. It's not a terrible movie, but it is not a good one, and I would not recommend the movie to pretty much any person. Since I am at a disadvantage in the sense that I don't have two hosts and my brother to kind of converse with about the movie, and I also don't really know what topics they covered, I'm going to focus on how I would fix the movie. So, the first thing I would do, just in general, is get better actors. I mean, I actually like the protagonist. I don't know who that is playing the kid who would be king, Alexander, but I thought he was doing a pretty dang good job. But everyone else, okay, maybe Merlin was doing good as well. Merlin was kind of fun too. But everyone else was doing bad. Even Patrick Stewart, I don't know how much of the budget went into having Patrick Stewart there for just a couple scenes, but even he was not giving his best performance, you know? So get rid of a bunch of actors, just get a new cast. Recast people, not good. So after the actors, I think the next thing to do is just trim so much fat from the movie, starting with the kind of ragtag group that goes on this quest. Because I liked when it started out and I thought, okay, it's going to be Alexander, his friend Bitters, Merlin's going to pop in and out. We're going to get this fun kind of adventure. But when they brought the bullies in, they just brought in way too much kind of character development that was supposed to be going on, too many different threads shooting off in different directions. And for me as an adult, I was kind of confused at points. And I imagine for kids who this movie should be directed at, they would be confused as well. So here's what you do. Here's what I think you should do. Let me get on my soapbox, my podium here. You have the two main characters, Alexander and Bitters. And Alexander's getting bullied at school along with Bitters. Keep the bullies in for that purpose, to kind of show that there is tension and there's a lot of stress on their friendship. And especially you keep in the scene with the bullies where they're in detention and the one blonde kid, I can't remember his name, but he puts his fingers over the divider between him and Alexander in detention. And on one hand it says, "You are," and on the other hand it says "dead," D-E-D. Maybe correct it so it's D-E-A-D, because he just needed one more finger. But you keep that in. That leads Alexander eventually to the Sword in the Stone. Alexander pulls it out, and Merlin appears, and evil is coming. Love it. Keep that. But then, the people who need to go on the quest are just Alexander and Bitters. And throughout the quest, they face, I don't know, a lot of people do three different, unique kind of monsters or hardships on their way to defeating Morgalla. And for the monsters, pull back on the CGI. Give me a lot more practical. That's what makes fun kids' movies so fun and interesting for adults and kids, is cool practical monsters. So give me that. And then you can end in the same way that they did, where Alexander and Bitters are back at the school, but they don't train up 200 school children in how to fight. And they don't use these big, realistic army tactics. Instead, it's just them two, Merlin, they're in the school, a couple of interesting monsters are attacking them, and they use kind of Home Alone style hijinks to evade them, defeat them, and they eventually get to the last battle against Morgalla. For me, that version of the movie would be more fun for kids, and as an adult, it'd be way more fun and interesting for me. So that's how I'd fix the movie. Thank you so much for having me on. I do have something to plug. For any fans of the TV show Ted Lasso, go to YouTube, type in Ted Lasso Rap JP Beats. Me and my buddy Jeff, we made a clean and wholesome rap to commemorate the first season of Ted Lasso, and we're very proud of it. Thank you all for listening. Have a wonderful life.